The story begins in the dusty warmth of spring. Jesus of Nazareth rode toward the great city of Jerusalem, seated on a lowly donkey. Crowds gathered in the streets, laying their cloaks and palm branches on the road before him as a sign of royal welcome. They shouted, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." It was a day of triumph and celebration. But amidst the joy, shadows were gathering. The religious leaders watched from the sidelines with hard eyes, plotting how they might silence this popular teacher. A few days later, Jesus gathered his 12 closest friends in a quiet upper room to share the Passover meal. Jesus rose from the table, wrapped a towel around his waist, poured water into a basin, and began to wash the dusty feet of his disciples. When he came to Simon Peter, Peter pulled back. Peter said, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet? You shall never wash my feet." Jesus looked at him gently. Jesus said, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." Then Peter said eagerly, "Then, Lord, not just my feet but my hands and my head as well." Later during the meal, Jesus took a loaf of bread. He gave thanks, broke it, and handed it to them. Jesus said, "Take and eat. This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." Then he took a cup of wine and passed it to them. Jesus said, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood." A profound silence fell over the room. Jesus looked around the table. Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." Shortly after, Judas Iscariot slipped away into the night. Jesus then looked at Peter and said, "You will deny me 3 times. Following the meal, Jesus led them to a quiet olive grove called Gethsemane. The night air was bitterly cold. He walked a little further into the shadows, fell to his knees, and prayed in agony, "Father, let your will be done." Suddenly torches pierced the darkness. A crowd armed with swords and clubs approached, led by Judas. Judas stepped forward and kissed Jesus on the cheek. Jesus said, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" Jesus was dragged before the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. Meanwhile, Peter stood warming his hands by a fire in the courtyard. 3 times people recognized Peter, and 3 times he denied it. Just then, a rooster crowed in the distance. Inside the palace, Pilate found no reason to execute him. But the crowd shouted, "Crucify him." The soldiers forced him to carry his own heavy wooden cross through the winding streets to a rocky hill called Golgotha. There they nailed him to the cross. As the hours passed, the sky turned black as pitch, even though it was midday. Jesus cried out, "It is finished. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." He bowed his head and gave up his life. Joseph of Arimathea placed him in a new tomb and rolled a massive stone in front of the entrance to seal it. Early Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene approached the tomb and was shocked to see that the massive stone had been rolled away. Suddenly, 2 men in gleaming clothes stood beside them. The angel said, "He is not here. He is risen." Mary turned and saw a man standing there. Jesus simply spoke her name, Mary. Instantly, she recognized his voice. That evening, the disciples were in a locked room. Suddenly, Jesus stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Jesus said, "Go and make disciples of all nations. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." After he said this, he was taken up before their eyes. The Easter story was complete, but for his followers, it was just beginning.